Now, the mobile miners, what they are contributing is those connections that you mentioned, the trust. So intuitively, this helps isolate any potential, it's called Sybil attackers. Sybil attack is when someone is creating fake accounts to pretend he's more than one people on the network. So think of it intuitively. If me, you, and Chen Diao are the only people on Pi network and no one else yet, and we point at each other because we pulled out on the phone each other and selected them, and we say that these are the people we trust. Now, if a fourth person comes along and creates, even if they create 1,000 fake accounts, the best they can do is they can have those accounts pointing at each other. But in order for us, for the three of us right now, to trust that those fake accounts, we would need to be convinced to change the trust pointers that we have from each other to those fake accounts. And why would we do that? So now imagine take this idea to millions of people, you will understand how it works. In its essence, it's similar to the original Google PageRank algorithm, where you have web pages on the internet and the true web page of MIT is pointing to the true web page of Stanford, and it doesn't really matter in the end of the day.
It's the authority that's built from backlinks is kind of the idea.
Yes, exactly. So you could have fake blogs pretending to be Stanford, but no one cares.
So let's use the web page example. Let's say I'm like a web page that's rank 1 on like a high trafficked search. I have a lot of weight because I have a lot of trust. Like I have 1,000 people pointing to me and you know those people are not fake accounts. Does that mean I mine more of the currency because I have more? Is it like proof of stake kind of like that, or how does that work?
No, we didn't want to make it on the plutocratic side. So the mining rate is standard across everyone. There are certain bonuses depending on different contributions.
Basically, the trust graph give rise to the better formation of the quorums of the nodes. And quorums are basically a subset of the whole node network within which the nodes are, messaging each other in terms of voting whether a transaction is true or not. And each time the quorums are dynamically formed, so it's not just always that set of nodes. That's why it's to some extent more decentralized in a way, because it's a dynamic quorums is formed independently. And within the quorum, nodes message each other and reach consensus. And the algorithm basically can ensure finality to this transaction and get recorded on the ledger.
And so you mentioned that you have 10,000 of these nodes. Is that 10,000 people with their phones? That was my understanding, but is it different than that? Are they actual computers? They're phones in the sense that your phone is a computer.
Yeah, if you're referring to the blockchain running to the devices that are running the consensus algorithm to produce blocks, these devices are only computers at the moment, not phones. We don't think that it would make sense for phones to be doing this kind of job. And in fact, I mentioned that there are tens of thousands. I need to look a little more into giving you a more authoritative answer of how many of those we have, but some unofficial survey we did recently gave us more than 90,000 nodes on the network. These are the computer nodes.
Yeah, and that's just like laptops, like anybody's laptop could.
Laptops, yes. So that essentially, if you look at this large number, even just on the testnet, it makes Pi network one of the largest distributed systems on the planet. Not just a blockchain, distributed system. Any system that doesn't have a essentially centralized server. There's a lot of different kinds, like file sharing, including is a distributed system.
And so you have a testnet. You haven't launched mainnet yet. What's sort of the status of where you are in building all this out?
Our mainnet is live. We launched the mainnet. This goes to also your question about what we are different from other blockchains. We are taking very non-consensus type of approach. Our mainnet is live, and we actually created a special period. It's called enclosed network period. This is a special phase inside our mainnet where the mainnet is live, but it artificially put a firewall against any external connectivity. This is to ensure that we can focus on building utilities within our ecosystem. And we believe their utilities can be built in the enclosed environment. Of course, recognizing there are certain utility requires external connectivity, but we want to focus on building utilities within this enclosed phase in order to get the utility-based ecosystem more mature before we open up to an open network where the firewall will be removed. In addition, during this phase, as you know, our network is not just a few thousand people or participants. We have millions of pioneers all over the world. So in order to onboard them, these millions all into the network, it makes sense and more fair for majority of the network migrate to the mainnet in an enclosed environment before opening up. This is also another goal of the enclosed network in addition to creating utility within the enclosed system. And this is also, the answer to your question, what is so different from other crypto projects? I think this is an innovative phase we created.
Yeah, it's just kind of gated. I mean, you let a bunch of people sign up and then you sort of gate the mainnet access. It's permissioned right now, but you will be an open permissionless chain once you feel like you've kind of made it out of this period and you have enough utility.
Yeah, during this period, as we mentioned earlier, there is more than 45 million engaged members on Pi Network right now. We call them pioneers. We are in the phase of accomplishing KYC for them and transitioning them to the mainnet. The mainnet you see on the Block Explorer is the real mainnet that will continue when it's open. Right now, we've KYC'd over 5 million people, and that's one of the goals to make the migration.
Yeah, this choice of this strategy is also based on Pi's philosophy of inclusivity, right? Our requirement of KYC is also making sure that all corners of the world regions are able to KYC and get onto our mainnet. This period supports this process.
I have so many questions. Just to take a step back, the utility you're building, can you give me examples of what things you're building on top of Pi Network and the examples plus the impact? Like, you've obviously prioritized some things that are gating the launch of the permissionless network. And so I'm kind of curious, like, what are the things and what is the impact? Once you have these things, why do you need them to wait to be permissionless?
Yeah, so utility is decentralized efforts from the whole community, not just the core team. Of course, we play a big role inside that by providing the infrastructure that facilitating the decentralized efforts, such as providing the platform, the SDK, and developer tools. However, the actual building and the honing on the real true utility for human to solve human needs is a completely a collective effort from the community builders and also community users of those apps. We have ourselves built some apps. For example, just now I already mentioned the KYC app. The KYC app, because also following accessibility, we didn't outsource to a third party, which usually charge at least $1 for doing a check, right? So that actually we develop a native solution that not only solve the scalability and also wide distribution of the geographic locations, but also it doesn't require people to pay out-of-pocket cost. Pioneers actually pay Pi cryptocurrency for the labor or the work done by the, crowdsourced human validators within the community to perfecting the validation process where the AI or machine automation lacks. AI advanced a lot, of course, but, for identity verification, there are cases that still needs human touch. And that human touch was provided by the community itself. So actually pioneers are working as validators, are actually making Pi from the pioneers who want to verify their identity. So this is a true utility using Pi, meaning that Pi is used to facilitate transaction between the labor of the validator, work of the validator, and result in actual substance, which is whether someone is verified or not.